Welcome to LatB, the only podcast that comes with a free Bandits bonus.
Express delivery included.
LatB, where MMA and UFC gets silly. This is the LatB podcast.
Welcome back, episode 208. We're going to Stockholm. You better wake up early if you're over here on the East Coast. Check your local listings because we're going to be starting early in the morning. But before we get into the heavy-duty breakdown we got coming out of Stockholm, Sweden with a whole 13 bouts, we got to go over some housekeeping, find out what's been going on, some of the MMA news because some heaters have dropped. There's been some controversial stuff going, some very rich fighters all of a sudden. Yeah. But how have you been, Cheney, since we last met?
I am doing all right. I had to bring something into you specifically ahead of time for our YouTube audience, which is like that one person out there on YouTube that's holding tight.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. Evil twin. Just wait.
Yeah, exactly.
His name. But we are going to be going through some stuff today. Hopefully it's a little tighter for all that, and you can tune in. But I've been addicted to this show called Patrick Melrose. It's a book, and it's a Showtime series. I didn't know what network put it out, but it is that kind of creeps of the kind of stuff we always talk about with like, oh, everybody's a weirdo. Everybody's a friggin' weirdo. It's that kind of next level creep.
Is the season over, or is it actively being...
I think they're talking about season 2 right now.
Okay.
So I think season 1's over. It's not a long season, and it's Cumberbatch.
Okay. I saw that creep's face.
Yeah, so I definitely... I encourage people to watch it. It's like heavy shiata. It's heavy shit. But I stayed up way too late last night just watching Not Good Dreams either.
Oh, no. I like those kind of shows, so I'm definitely going to take a sneak peek at it. But I
was almost text you, and I'm like, it's late AF. Late AF. I started the night before, but then I got deep enough where I'm like, oh, this show is good. Patrick Melrose, highly recommend.
Definitely. I have been catching up on podcasts. It's just been MMA stuff and then a lot of tape study. We got a lot of debuting fighters. I had to go back deep into the vaults of YouTube and or other streaming sites to be able to watch some of those fights. So good amount of studying, but hey, a week off makes the heart grow fonder, and I was ready to break down fights. How 1 week, I'm just like,
I know, me too. We were like, oh, I have a little fight fatigue. I'm taking it for granted. It's like, oh, take it for granted. They could just go 8 days without fights. I don't need a full 2 weeks.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Need a full 2 weeks. Yeah, it was definitely, I was thirsty. I was like that thirsty girl looking for some MMA material for sure. So, yeah, MMA news. This is something you brought to my attention yesterday, which good on him.
Yoel Romero becoming one of the richest active fighters, Conor McGregor being the only other rival in there, but recently being awarded $27.45 million in his lawsuit against the company that gave him tainted supplements, which in turn docked him certain pay or amount of time to fight. So in his lawsuit, Yoel Romero claimed that he was not able to fight for X amount of time due to this supplement company. So he lost $3 million in fights potentially, $3 million in advertising, and then $3 million he asked for in pain and suffering for that time. And the New Jersey court ended up honoring that, and due to the laws out of New Jersey, they compounded that threefold to come out with the settlement because of the defamation and certain restrictions that come out of New Jersey. So Yoel Romero getting a good... We were actually recently talking about the other promoters and Ali Abdelaziz being one of those guys. Who's Yoel Romero's manager?
He's doing right by fighters. I almost think the Ali hate is like old hat.
Well, but what I'm saying is that I told you the other promoters were the Kawa brothers. Abraham Kawa.
Oh, so you got a little chip it.
Over here, knowing what he's talking about with these managers, because we don't hear about the Kawa brothers much, but when we do, they're cutting fat-ass checks for their fighters.
So do you think we see Yoel fight again?
I don't know. I don't think
That's
we
a
do.
heavy, big
I don't.
question,
I don't
right?
think we do. Unless he fights for the belt, there's no reason for him to come back. But we say that
And
about
there
Conor.
really is no one left for him to fight. What are we
Agreed.
going to see him fight Bobby Knuckles
A
again?
third
Unless
time?
we see him fight Israel Adesanya, which they'd have to pay him a pretty heavy chunk. I don't.
More than 24 million, I'm assuming.
Yeah, or maybe not his whole nest egg, but at least in the six figures.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So,
Still.
yeah, I
Do you think he comes back?
no.
I agree. I don't think
know
he
if
does.
there's any reason to. He has nothing left to prove, and he's kind of fought every big name. So, yeah, I would like him to. I hope he does.
I totally agree. One of the funnest fighters ever, but at 40 years old with neck injuries, well, just a lifetime of fighting, he's got it. He got what he wanted. I mean, you want that belt, yes, but $24 million really helps out that empty hole you have.
Yeah, Brock Lesnar. That's what it seems like, that Brock Lesnar money. You just made that Brock Lesnar. You just got that GSP money. You just got that, what was that shoe company? You got that Under Armour deal.
You got that
You just
John
got
Jones
that
deal.
Under Armour deal.
John Jones got 90 million.
I don't know if it's full Nike, but you got that Under Armour deal. So did you watch Michelle Watterson on JRE?
I have not been able to catch up on that. I did recently see that it's there, and it's in my queue. And I won't probably watch that. I'll end up listening to it.
Oh, yeah. Either way. If you watch it on YouTube or listen to it on whatever way you get your podcast.
Fill me in, guy. I love Watterson talk. I was just talking about Michelle Watterson.
Michelle Watterson, in my opinion, she's a lot more thug than she gets credit for. She was all doing smokers. She's been fighting with cowboys since way back in the day. I had no idea. It was really fun listening to her talk. She, everywhere that I would criticize, like a shitty old fight Siskel and Ebert, like over here, like the Penguin, everywhere I'd criticize, she already knows she needs to work on those things, and she's
open about it.
Funny, and she's in the right camp, and she's with the right people, and I really like what I heard from her, and it was a fun conversation between her and Joe. She went to like Muay Thai overseas and fought like that with her karate style, where she was like, I swear I'm a black belt in karate. It was fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and
Definitely.
it doesn't go too long.
Is it one of his now MMA shows? Officially,
I think so.
Because
like
we were
number
asking for
66 or
it,
something.
right? I remember for years asking for it and finally being like, he's not gonna do it because he's like, oh, I talk enough about it, but oh, dude, super niche field that you are officially the king of not only podcasts but MMA specifically. Like,
she wants to be the mom champ.
Yes, that she's been championing that for a while now, being the mom champ, and she lives it. I mean, she does a good job. We've talked about it before. That's why she's all the way around just a sexy individual.
Like, even like little funny things where I don't even remember the circumstances, but let's just say like, oh, they only have a fight here for 125ers, and Cowboy would look at her and be like, fuck it.
Well, fight advice from Cowboy Cerrone. You should know what the answer is every time.
I loved it. I loved it. It was. I didn't know any of it. It was news to me.
That's
so
fun.
I recommend it to anyone who maybe got on UFC after 2010. It seems like it's like good fight stories.
I thought of the thing that I couldn't think of things to watch.
Oh yes, please.
Renato Ralancha, 27 world time champ. You know, Vinny Magalhães' number one rival, has brought his podcast back, and he was interviewing Khalil Roundtree in Thailand. That was actually a great listen. Renato Ralancha, we've said it, he's a mockery, like he's very sarcastic and just plays a role, a skit in his fake Brazilianness. But Roundtree knows, and I feel like the guests now understand it, so it's not as awkward because Khalil deferred to him when he went into his boisterous, like, oh, my cinnamon skin and all of that talk. And, oh, you a fat guy with dreads and nobody like you. And, look what you are now. And he's so blunt about it. But now that people understand what they're in for, it makes for a fun interview because he bears it down in an assholey way. That guys get it. He's just like, oh, he's being a dick and he's asking him to his face. And it's like, oh, that's his stick.
He's like, who's homeboy that was in like the Madonna video in 2000 that also had all the HBO show and the movies now?
Richard Grieco?
No, he had Borat and shit.
Oh, Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah, he's kind of like that.
Yes.
Or like a tongue-in-cheek guy or a Jiminy Glick. Remember when, like, way back when...
He's like the dog with the cigar.
Yeah, you just have to be in on the joke, otherwise you're going to get pissed.
Exactly, and it's the Vale Tudo hour with Renato Aranja, 27 world time champion, Mundial champion. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Getting into the ridiculous, Uriah Faber's officially coming back into the UFC, getting a fight with Ricky Simone. Gonna get down in the ring. How do you feel about this 40-year-old coming back? Alpha male. Can't keep his name out of his hat out of
In a way, it's the right fight. It's like it was either going to be him or homeboy that submitted the guy that submitted Gia Penn.
Oh, Ryan Hall?
Yeah. It's like that nature they're going to give him. They're going to give Uriah those kind of fights. And frankly, I don't know. There's guys in the UFC that Uriah can beat, but I'm not really... Who do you have in this fight right now?
Simone. Easily. Just Uriah has doing a lot of other things, which he always has been, but he's one of those older dogs in the sport. He was older back then, had a long career, and I think he's going to be surprised even with Simone's supposed limited aspect. He can just pull the trigger a lot faster than Faber at this point in Faber's career, in my point of view. But, TJ was at Alpha Male for a while, and they learned some stuff there, so I've heard.
I don't know. I'm not really... I knew he was going to come back. I would like to see something more like you were saying before, like a Chad Mendez, TJ Dillashaw, some kind of fight that makes it...
I don't think he'd fight Chad Mendez, though.
Not Chad, because he's still at the same camp.
Right.
But maybe like a TJ, somebody with a story. Like, build up the story of Uriah, let him fight Dom again.
Right.
At this point. It's like,
that would actually be...
fight.
This is a really weird fight.
Weird fight, but hey, it's winnable for either guy, maybe. You know what would be cool? If Uriah Faber cuts his hair into a mullet before the fight.
There's quite a few guys that have done that, though.
Before they fight Ricky Simone.
Oh, no, not before.
Because Ricky Simone got that perfect mullet.
He does have a really good mullet. We've talked about it before.
Faber, I know guys have fought with mullets before, but I just mean usually Uriah has some longer hair, so it would be kind of funny if they had a mullet, kind of. So you hear me, Uriah Faber? Get that mullet cut.
I like it. I think we should petition for that, if anything.
Yeah.
Get a mullet. Other bout, Frankie Edgar, Max Holloway, officially July 27th, Saturday. Man, we got a fun bunch of fights coming up in June and July. It caps off.
Are you excited about this fight?
No.
I feel like it's too dangerous for Frankie Edgar.
But it's what we were saying already before with Frankie. It's just he's been off a year and a half, and he lost his last fight to get this, where Volkanovski just beat Aldo, and both of those guys have fought a lot more. Then again, Volkanovski did have that foot infection, and he needs a little more time to rest from that.
And Frankie does deserve it. Everyone always is like, Frankie always gets passed over. Like, it's always bad timing. And then he got it and then fell out. So, yeah, we'll see if it gets there.
We'll see. Are you excited for it?
No.
Exactly, right? Exactly. It's not...
It seems mean. I feel a little mean about it. And I love Max. It just seems really dangerous for Frankie. It doesn't seem like I wouldn't let it pass.
Right.
Speaking of not letting it pass.
No, is this a hot or not new segment we got here at LatB? When it deems for it, we're going to have some hot takes, if you know what I'm saying. And Jessica Andrade has graced us with the nude photo shoot of the belt. Not unique. We have seen many champions be nude. But Andrade just has a way about some of her photography, and...
You got a loss for words.
Woo, it got me. I turned over, I saw that cheek, and I don't know. Jessica Andrade is really filling up to her name, androgynous, in this section, because I don't know how I feel. I love everybody in the UFC. I like all nude photos. Even, Derek Lewis had a good nude shoot.
Yeah.
So, it just falls in a really weird spot for me because it's such a bad photo, and that's what I have bad
precedent. It's not done right.
Exactly.
So for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, Jessica Andrade is on her IG, and she posted a picture of her holding the belt catty corner from her shoulder down through her vagina, so it covers up her teats and her hoo-ha. I just don't like the placement. I feel like she has a killer body.
Yep.
I almost feel like she could have stood backward and let her whole ass out. Like, she has a killer body. body, I feel like the placement just feels uncomfortable. Like it feels forced or something. It's trying to cover too much.
So this is exactly why, because I showed the lady of the house and was like, how do you feel about this? And she's like, well, why doesn't she deserve to be sexy or be thought of that way? And I'm like, that's fine. I agree with that. Like, she still is an attractive person on any spectrum. I think she's a cute boy.
She's a cute little
person.
Whatever way she feels like identifying.
Yep.
She's cute for that.
I agree with that. And I was saying that it's just a photo. It's a bad photo. To me, it looks like this is about to be a Bang Bush shoot, and they're about to walk into the next room and be like, you're on, and the cameras pull out, because I've seen that wallpaper at Motel 6s where they shoot these movies, and I'm just like...
Is it reminiscent? Remember that picture of Rhonda with her belt?
But that was well done. That was
because
good
it had
waiting.
A photographer. It wasn't like in the shower at the YMCA.
It wasn't a guy. Exactly. It wasn't a guy on a cell phone like, yeah, you're 18, right? You're 18, right? Oh, sign these documents. It looks like...
It does kind of have a little bit of that vibe. It makes me feel like it's a little snuff. Like it feels snuffy.
Exactly. So that's what I don't like about it. That it makes me go into that aspect.
No hate.
Not at all. Beautiful person. I'm glad she has the belt. I love that she's giving Rose the first shot if she wants it back in America. So as far as Andrade's been doing, the weakest part of her game has been her photo shoots.
Yeah. Oh, we probably should have had a thing in between. It just jumps right into it.
Interesting.
But hey, that's all. I guess that's all we had to talk about.
That is all we had to talk about, because we do have a 13-card bout coming out of Stockholm, Sweden, 10 a.m. for the East Coasters. Check your local listings wherever you're going to be at. It's going to be a 13-card bout, topping off with Gustafsson at 205 versus... I can't even think of his damn name all of a sudden. Alex White, no. The main eventer, Anthony Smith. Oh, just generic Caucasian
I feel like we
name.
had a hard time with Anthony Smith's name the whole time.
Right. So the 13, you know how we like to do it here. We always start from the bottom all the way to the top. If you want to get any free bets, other little tidbits of information we get out as the week goes along, be sure to follow at Zoltanite, at Weekneck at Lesbo and the Bean, wherever you can on Instagram.
Or on the IG, it's LATB_MMA, I think. But our IG is getting... You guys, you're missing out. I'm telling you. You're missing out. And I'm going to put up all these pictures that are on the TV on our Instagram. So you'll be able to check them all out and hashtag try it out.
Definitely try it out. Definitely try it out. So, as we go here traditionally from the bottom to the...
last minute, I never knew this. Wasn't About added last minute on this?
Yeah, within like within like a day and a half ago, 2 days ago. So yeah, definitely have to do some tape study.
I hope they have that gift.
We'll roll with the punches on that one for sure. At 155 pounds, we have Danilo Bernardo versus Joel Alvarez, the debuting fighters coming in against Joel out of España. We saw him lose his debut at 15-2 in the UFC. Alvarez is a wrestler by trade out of Spain. I remember not having a specifically good breakdown of him initially, and nothing in the UFC showed me otherwise. Again, his debut coming in against what level of opponent in Damir Ismagulov, who is a high prospect who's really not shown out as far as DraftKings or just really dominated. It was a 30-27 fight, but it looked like Alvarez could have finished at times in there. Young man has heart, but all the way around, he's semi-serviceable. Not that good of takedown defense. Damir really ended up exploiting that. And striking is a bit slow and looping, so he's just kind of a guy who's going to have a couple fights, maybe be on a knockout reel or two. I just haven't seen the progression. But at 26 years old, with his debut out of the way, this is where we see the biggest leaps and jumps. All of a sudden, he could be over at Top Team. I did not get his specific camp, so I don't know if he's in España.
He could Moicano.
Exactly.
Like, all those guys just shoot out all of a sudden, and then they're like links above their, opponents. Right.
But he's definitely got the toughness to be in there, not being finished in his last fight. The debuting 12-3 fighter coming out of Italy, Dinalo, what's his nickname? Caterpillar, is he's in the same boat as Alvarez. a little looping on his punches, has power. His wrestling is serviceable, but against his opponents, being 8-6, 7-7, he has a couple finishes in there, and it's just with his athleticism. It's him just pushing his punches and being able to throw out 3 and 4 punch combinations, but he gasses pretty hard as well. I think both of these guys, the further this fight gets, just the sloppier it turns into, and it turns into a decision. I do think, though, slightly, Danilo has had a little bit better competition level, even though Alvarez has a fight in the UFC. The fights before that, Alvarez just had, both of these guys were fighting taxi cab drivers, but Danilo, Caterpillar here, freaking does have a couple guys with semi-okay records. So I think this turns into a slop fest. This is a big fat stay away for a reason. They're doing it to us again, and I'm not going to pick either one of these fighters in either spot. I guess the likelier finish for me would be the Caterpillar, Danilo, to win the fight. As an underdog, it is near even. I think this is going to go coin flip, but definitely not much action at all for me. What do you take away in this one?
I think this is a traditional LatB hashtag stay away. Do you think it would be silly if I put both of our picks up afterward and then put it on Instagram? Or do you want to not?
No, I like that. I like that. And even the round, because as our breakdown goes down, I'll change rounds and we'll be picking stuff live on the air so it can be the official.
I can get our cards out earlier now that this is done.
Definitely.
I don't even need to wait for the UFC card
anymore. Perfect.
But I think this is the traditional LatB stay away. I have it going the other way by decision. So that even makes it more as a stay away. So if it's a traditional stay away for me and I have it going the other way and you have it going one way, I think it's a dog or pass situation if you're going to do it at all. So
I totally agree with that. And on DraftKings, you're going to end up paying $8,500 for the returning Alvarez against debuting Danilo Caterpillars, $7,700 on DraftKings. And as I was kind of alluding to a bit, out of the two to get a finish, I do think it's the underdog. So DraftKings-wise, he's going to be the guy to score who has a bit higher ceiling. But again, I'm going to go ultra low owned, if not at all.
Do yourself a favor.
Do yourself a favor, not at all. So moving on to 205 pounds, we have Devin Clark coming in against returning Draco Stokic. Stokic coming in with a 13-1 record, winning his debut in the UFC out of Serbia. He beat Jeremy Kimball in a fast, minute, 2 minute knockout, ground and pound. Stokic, does he have a nickname here? Draco, is very looping, very powerful fighter. Okay movement, but he does stand in front of his opponents and he'll throw 2 and 3 punch combinations and swarm on you when he really has you hurt. He has a good killer instinct, but he really likes to get old men out of there early because his record's a bit padded once you start to look into it as well. He definitely has many opponents with losing records, and just the scene he was fighting out of wasn't anything to be super hailed at. He did have a couple good wins, but 9-15 fighters, 34-12, 34-13. When you still look at the actual guys in there, these are guys in their 40s, type of late 30s fighters. And the young man Stokic comes out like a bulldog. He actually has a really hard left hook and he throws it with power. It stuns a lot of fighters, and then he's able to just land looping uppercuts, looping shots, because most people, he's fought a lot in rings as well. I don't know if that plays a role, but the cage will change it as far as takedowns and fence control. He didn't need to show much of his last game against Kimball, because Kimball's out of here. Guy who just never really won. I think won 1, lost 4 in a row, something like that. So Kimball just really not dedicated. And Devin Clark is in that teetering frame for me. He has okay showings and then has horrible showings against caliber fighters. Though losing to Jan Blachowicz isn't that bad. The 9-3 fighters lost twice in the UFC. Last to Rakic, which you are been heavy on. You changed my mind on Rakic, who we're going to see later. But he does have some quality wins over Mike Rodriguez, where he was an underdog. He's beat Josh Stansberry, who's no longer in the UFC. Jake Collier, no longer there anymore. But constant problems we see with Devin Clark is gas tank issues. Gas tank issues. He fades really hard in that third round. He's held on and been better into the second. He has okay boxing, a good jab, good wrestling, good takedown defense, and actually has better takedowns than credited for. He likes to implement his wrestling game and has really done that as of late. In his wins, even in his losses, he hasn't tried to strike with people. Devin Clark has really fallen back on his wrestling, and it's been working out. It doesn't make for a fun fight, but what always keeps his opponent in the game is that Devin Clark's chin's maybe a bit iffy on compounded on a weak gas tank. He just looks like he's losing a fight all of a sudden dramatically, and that'll always make it dicey in there. But I do think that the competition level has been so much higher for Devin Clark, and I haven't liked his cardio issues at all. It just doesn't look like he's fixing it. But against Stocic, I see a guy who's not tested at all either. And we haven't seen any of his long fights. Go look back at his other fights. Most of them are finishes, and it's always in the first round. 1 or 2 have gone in the second, and he finishes it quick because he knows he's breathing hard. So I think I think Devin Clark goes out there, doesn't try to strike, shoots a couple of those takedowns. He has above 40% takedown against high-level wrestlers in there. So I don't think Stocic is going to be much of a hard. It's going to be hard at all. If we get to a third round, it's going to be dicey. I got Devin Clark actually winning this in the second or third round via TKO. Give me an underdog. It's not the first of the night. It ain't going to be the last.
Wow.
We got an underdog, Devin Clark. I think the veteranship comes through. I don't like betting on Devin Clark. I don't think it's probably not going to be a free play because you just can't trust him. But I do think he beats the younger fighter here. Who do you have and why?
Devin Clark lets you down more than the three-legged horse at the racetrack.
It's true.
He is glass-jawed, and I think Stocic's heavy-handed. So if he just comes out in a flurry, all he has to do, in my opinion, is catch him one time in the first, and I think he's gonna. I don't want to go too heavy on this play because I do like to stick with what I know, which is Devin Clark a little more here, but he always just lets me down. Don't let me down. I'm not picking Devin Clark, so Stocic, not too heavy, maybe 25%. But I'm going the other way on this. I just don't trust Devin Clark anymore. But I think I went with him last time, and I'm like, no,
yep,
never again.
And I talked you out of it, or I tried to, I feel like, because I'm like, this Devin Clark, he taps to these certain chokes or not. But, again, Rakic, definitely way better than Stocic. I like what you're saying, though, with that chin. Devin Clark's this type of fighter that will shit in bed all of a sudden. But then he'll come out here and maybe win TKO round number 3 if you're following E, supposedly.
Round number 3, the guy with the worst cardio.
Okay, I had to. I said, okay, I think he finishes into 2 then.
Oh my gosh. If this fight goes past halfway through the second round, boring fight. It's going to be so boring.
Garbage fight. Totally. But the guy that probably has more power at that last burst is going to be Stocic. On DraftKings for 8,700 for Stocic against 7,500 underdog plus 135. Clark, I think I'm going to put Stocic on 20%, Devin Clark on 10. Because I think that there could be a finish here just because they're both so bad at cardio. If one of them is like, oh, he's weak, boom, boom, boom.
I'm putting Devin Clark nowhere.
Okay.
And then I'll have Stocic on a few because I do see a finish. Oh, man. If it's not a finish for either guy, though, they're less than 30 points.
Oh, for sure. For sure. It's 27.5 points. For sure.
It's going to be painful.
So, that's a greasy-ass fight. Greasy fight.
It is.
Moving on
but it ain't the greasiest.
No, not at all. Moving on to one of those dreaded double debuts. Not going to be the last of the night. We have a 145-pound bout with a fighter that is officially 1-0 and lost her fight in the Contender Series to Lena Lenton. Bea Malecki is fighting out of the Swedish scene. She was in that one of those houses, but either way, she's a Muay Thai fighter. I actually was able to find more of her Muay Thai fights than I did watch that Contender Series fight, and she mainly tried to use her Muay Thai to stay in the fight, but that's what she comes with. Minimal takedown defense, if any at all, on the ground. Getting better, but she's on that white belt, maybe a blue belt, moving me there after months. But very, very weak, and is just somebody who's 27 and at 145 pounds, if you're a big lady, they're like, hey, she's had a fight or two. She at least won't look like some of these one fighters, some of these other guys. She's not going to look like a total cannon there. She'll put up a fight, but I don't see her winning too many fights in the UFC. At 27, she could grow, but she's coming in against a 3-0 fighter in Duda Santana. Santana has won her 3 fights, decision, 1 finish via TKO, and is coming out of the Tata fight team with Cowboy Oliveira, the Brazilian fighter.
Ask who I've seen her standing with in pictures, and that's who it is. Yes.
So she's has that been confirmed or denied? It was denied officially by Oliveira, but has that been confirmed that he's on the run?
Team, and I haven't seen anything else about it.
Oliveira himself supposedly came out and said he's not on the run. So if he came out, I mean he's not running from the cops, I'd assume.
Yeah, probably. I've taken pictures with her. Otherwise, she's an accomplice.
Right. So Santana is also a striker in there. I really didn't see too much of her ground game in any of her fights other than she can frame off all right and that she actually frames well to the clavicle and throws a piston of her right hand. But we don't need to worry about that with Bay Malecki. Malecki doesn't shoot takedowns. She really wants to be a Antonia Shevchenko type of fighter. That's probably a good mixture of the type of fighter she is in there. Fairly low output, not tons of power. She'll teep you and throw little punches, some elbows, but 1 and 2 punch combinations. And Santana does a lot of the same stuff. But again, she has, I don't want to say it's Amanda Nunes, but that right hand, she throws it like Amanda Nunes. Not the type of power, even though that's what got her finish. But if it lands right, she can knock women out. She just has that motion about her. And she'll actually throw a really good jab to she'll also frame off of that jab to a right down the middle that lands hard, and then she'll hit some knees. She'll throw some good intercepting knees that have hurt quite a bit of her opponents. But she fights like Oliveira. She doesn't want to go to the ground, and she's been doing well. I think this stays standing. I have Santana winning a decision. Out of the two, I see the finish coming for Santana. So maybe I'd pick her, but this is low fight IQ for both ladies. I don't like from what I saw from tape. I think at 45, they're going to stay in here because there's not many other women, but that's the only reason. If this was any other division, they wouldn't be fighting. What did you end up taking away from that?
It would be disrespectful for me to even throw in an opinion. I'm going to pick Santana by decision, just by camp alone and record. And I'm going to stay far, far away from this fight. I think it might be a finish. I have Santana decision. It may be a finish, but I think it's going to be a low output fight. And yeah, I agree with you. 145 is a desperate division. So this is a big, with 13 cards, this will be a nowhere.
Stay away. I actually think I could play at 8,600, the favorite in Santana against Malecki, just because I see the finish out of the two. That right hand for Duda lands pretty well.
8-6 though?
8-6 is for a debuter. You're right. Probably 10 to 5%. Do I even throw 5%? 5% do that.
This is stay away.
That's probably the safest bet that you can play on that one. Maybe I'll put a prop bet for sure on Duda inside the distance or TKO because that's going to be plus money.
It might be, yeah.
Yeah, if other people don't see that coming down the way. So, on to 155 pounds. We have 2 returning fighters in Nick Hein versus Frank Camacho. This is definitely a fun one. We have the German fighter in Hein having a 14-4 record, really only losing in the UFC. His last 2 fights coming in losses to Damir Adzovic, split decision where he was a favorite, and also losing to Davi Ramos, submission, rear naked choke, but that doesn't look that bad all of a sudden. Camacho coming in with a 21-7 record, losing a few in the UFC now to Jin Liang decision. He's rattled off a win or 2 though against.
Did you already call this an LLT? Did you already say this is a loser leaves town?
I did not. Do you think so though? At 155 pounds, it is stacked.
It's a stacked.
It's a stacked
if
division.
If a division's stacked, it's this division.
I don't know if I can see Camacho.
But if Elias taught us anything, it's not a win-lose record. It's how
Great
exciting
point.
you are. Yeah.
And that's where I was going to say, I feel like if there is, it's Hein, not Camacho. Because Camacho will go out on a shield, as we saw against Joffrey Neal. He went, slapped his face, and was like, I'm getting picked apart. Whatever, Super Saiyan. And then he got, pink, drop. with that head kick. So I think Camacho is one of these guys that can get 4 losses in a row. But if he goes out on his shield, they're like, hey, we're going to have you on promos for the rest of your career. So whatever. But Camacho getting a loss in there against Drew Drober decision. And then, as I was saying, Neil got him 8 months ago with that devastating shot where he was getting picked apart. Camacho is a striker who can be outstruck. He tends to brawl a little bit more on the ground. He has okay takedown defense. Haven't seen much of his ground game. We did see Jean Liang really stifle him to that decision, and so did Dober, and that was due to the lack of takedown defense or just the lack of ability of Camacho being able to get back up on his feet. He's a Robbie Lawler without the takedown defense. He can get a bit looping, but he throws heavy punches. So Nick Hein comes in with much more of he's a judo black belt, but he does have a good jab. Throws it up with a good 3-punch combination. Good cardio. Very Sean Shirkish in there. Likes to keep it standing. Has used his judo at times to get to the ground. But once Hein gets you to the ground, he really just stays in side control. He doesn't really try to submit you. He goes over for that position over submission. And he tends to decision you more than anything. So I think Camacho's rested enough as far as that chin. I think that if we're going, do you think the judges here... and being the more local favorite, if you got, I'm going to say, somebody who looks a little more different in Camacho compared to Hein, I think that this could be turn into a dirty split. But I do think Camacho could potentially just wear it better and push the pressure a little bit, and it goes 29-28. But I do think the crowd could play a role here. I'm going to go Camacho, sturdy-ass split decision. I'm going to probably end up being low-owned on this one because I do see a decision. I don't see either guy really getting the better of each other in this, just shaking hands and parting ways. Who do you have in this fight and why?
I like your dirty-ass split. I even think this could be, if we ever had a pick that was like, draw of the night. I think this has the most potential of being a draw. You usually get those 75-plus odds or 95-plus dependent. So this fight could be really close, really bloody, go either way. We could even think Camacho won the fight, but Hein be more of the local kind of thing. I don't know. I think it's a hella close fight. I think it's going to be really entertaining. Nick Hein decision. I think Frank Camacho is going to be it's going to come to the cardio, and I think that's where he comes out with so much power right away that it's just unfortunate no one can keep that up for that long of a time, and Nick Hein's just a better grinder. I don't know if I'll have this too many places, though. I picture it being a grind with a lot of heavy blows more than amount of blows. What is their cost? Their cost
on DraftKings is going to be $8,200 for Hein against $8,000 for Camacho. Everybody seeing being a dirty-ass split. Maybe we just need to have the dirty split graphic. Like, this one's a dirty split.
This one's the dirty split. There's probably an old album or an old something like, what's that porn star with the really... Ron Jeremy or something, like bent over with like a hairy ass crack. And
exactly, dirty that, yeah.
Boom, stamp.
Decide what end. But at $8,200 for a decision, these guys average. Hein is 43 points, Camacho 60 points. So really not going to pay off that $8,000 either way. I'm going to probably end up staying away from this one.
I don't know. Sometimes you need these middle cards. And it's kind of funny that it's so close and we see it being so close. And then it's almost hard. It won't be on the winner. It won't be on the winning card regardless of what way it goes.
That's what I totally think. At 155 pounds, we're going to be profiling quite a few bouts. And another one is going to be Stevie Ray coming against Laredo Santos. Santos is 16-3 on a 4-fight winning streak, but he is spotty at best, fighting every couple years. I think he's coming off of about a 2-year layoff, 2-year, 7-month layoff against Adriano Martins. He has wins in there against Rocco Martin, against Kevin Lee, Escudero. He fought these guys early on in their careers and was able to beat them, but it's been a long time. He did get one of the most egregious split decisions of all time against Norman Park in there as well, but Santos has been perfect, I feel like, in the UFC. At 39 years old, he's one of the most tenured, 55 years old, if not most tenured, right? I guess oldest, not tenured because I think that goes to Jim Miller, who's also one of the oldest guys. But either way, Santos has some okay judo throws. Had to go back into tape. Good jab, heavy right hand, but he really just throws them in 1 and 2 punch combinations. Gets into 1 punches. On the ground, he's really good, but he is one of these guys that will give up a takedown, can give up control, and I want to say is lucky, but I can't really say that because if you throw a punch or you throw out a submission, that's what you're intended to do, but he's had better breaks than most fighters. I feel like one of the submissions was a fake tap or a tap that was not necessarily there. So Santos can be a little greasy in there, but I don't know what we're going to see from him. We are also in Sweden. USADA ain't going to be there. Brazilian's going to be doing Brazilian stuff. So there's been hints.
That is something Michelle Watterson brought up on Joe Rogan.
Oh, really?
She actually said, because he was talking about, like, I love USADA and blah, 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 and then they were talking about water in one, and she goes, but is there USADA in other countries? Are they as strict? And it's so, we talk about it all the time here. Yeah, so. Joe Rogan actually said that. I guess you're right. It is called the U.S. Anti-Doping Association.
Yeah, so if you're in England, they ain't got one. They're just like, do whatever you want, homeboy. Or where are we going to be at? Sweden, I mean. Yeah. They're neutral. They don't give a shit what you do.
They never care. They make a good watch, and they never care.
Yep, exactly.
And also, apparently they have a really nice captors. Like, if you're going to be held captive by somewhere, you want to be held captive by a Swede.
Interesting.
Because apparently you'll discover such a love affair for him that they'll call it Stockholm Syndrome.
Interesting.
That was a reach.
That was a good one. I know for a fact, though, that their prisons are semi-optional. Like, there's a limited time that you can be in prison there, and then you can choose to stay or not. And, their prisons are like a compound where you get your own tiny home.
Huh.
Yeah, different. They choose to actually rehabilitate their criminals.
Maybe I moved to Sweden.
Hey, not a bad idea. But either way, the more local favorite would be Stevie Ray out of the two, being the Scottish fighter with a 22-8 record, getting a win in there finally.
We're going to have someone type us like, the Swedes hate the Scots, you dum-dums.
Stevie Ray finally getting a win in there against the Yari, I believe a young fighter in there, but losing to K. John Johnson in a split decision, also losing to Paul Felder in a TKO. Stevie Ray beat people like Lozon and has actually had a beating Pearson in a controversial split decision as well. Ray, jack of all trades, master of none, actually has a decent double leg. Good wrestling out of Scotland, wherever he's been training out of. It just shows he's actually a serviceable wrestler and uses it well. His striking can get him into trouble at times. But a fighter like Santos, he's more of that one punch type of fighter. And I feel like Stevie Ray has serviceable enough boxing to not let that shot. The hard thing in this fight for me is Santos, if you go off of his last fights, he was beating really good guys. So the last memories we have of him are really, really good. But he's been on a long layoff. The fact that there is no USADA also weighs into this. But the better fighter at the time, the guy I've seen more in there and I can trust more is Stevie Ray. He's a big underdog here, and there's reasons for it. On the ground, a lot of people think that once Stevie Ray gets there, Santos is going to be able to wrap him up in all sorts of positions. And yeah, he potentially can. Joe Lozon wasn't able to do it, but Santos has that where he will put 100% of energy into a move, and if it doesn't work, he's screwed. So far, it's worked for him. Eventually, it might not anymore, but I think that Stevie Ray can more win on points and turn this into a boring decision type of a fight. He can use his takedown defense to keep it where he wants to because he does have an advantage, I feel like, striking it in the boxing. And Santos has bad entries on his shots 2 years ago, let alone now, where he's fighting just a general, younger, better crowd. Give me the huge underdog. I told you it ain't the last one. And we got more on the way. Be sure to be following Zold tonight. They're coming. Stevie Ray, decision. Who do you have in this fight and why?
I feel like this I don't want to preemptively say that this could be the Bandits bonus of the night, but I have Stevie Ray decision too. I think the line's way off here. You know how I hate when somebody's out for over 2 years. We don't even like to look at their record if it's older than 2 years. The game has changed so much. You know what happened when Santos left? Ronda Rousey was the champ. I'm just saying, I don't really know, that's being shit, but Stevie Ray, there was a time I was hating on him, and then he came out and he changed his game plan around a little bit and didn't put himself in such shit situations. He's gone up, he's beating guys when you look at it like Joe Lozon and Ross Pearson, but no offense to Leonardo Santos, he's kind of those caliber guys to me. He's losing to guys like Paul Felder, who I think is top echelon, and everyone, Cajun gets hate, but he got cut for political views, not because of his ability or his
he's
record.
a turn and runner.
I know. Yeah, nowadays.
Well, not anymore. He ain't in the UFC no more.
He's not in the UFC, but he was looking good in this fight.
Sure.
So I too have Stevie Ray, and I think it's going to be a tight decision. It could be as tight as the split we were just talking about, but I like everything you're saying here. I don't want to say it ahead of time, but I just think it should be in that we both agree. You can't come in here with that kind of old ass record. Who do you think you are, Dominic Cruz?
But let's see weigh-ins. If this guy's got 28 abs on his freaking belly, then we're like, we'll let you know.
Or if Stevie Ray looks like Jack the Pumpkin King just hanging on by a thread, it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Or if Stevie Ray touches him first at weigh-in.
Oh, really? We're going to keep that one? Well,
no, I get voodoo up in here. I get voodoo.
You'll have to be on that Twitter. But you're going to end up paying $9,200 for Leonardo Santos against Stevie Ray's $7,000, even on DraftKings. I'm going to put Stevie Ray, but... yeah, I think it's a decision win still, so that's low output on an average of 57 points on DraftKings for Stevie Ray. He's gonna be more valuable than the other underdog so far if he comes out, I feel like.
Yeah, and for that price, you can put a whole bunch of heavy hitters on. Right now, he's in the little basket, skipping off to grandma's. You put him in there. You pick him, and you're like, I'll throw him down if I find something better.
Definitely.
You put him on.
But he is one of those guys that's going to definitely give you options. Moving on to 135 pounds, we have a number 2 type of a fight with Tanya Evinger coming in against Lena Landsberg at 135 pounds. Both of these ladies have seen each other before twice.
I might get hate for saying this. I think this is a main card fight. Not on a pay-per-view or anything, but on a fight.
Out of this fight night, this is more worthy than Taymor versus debuting fighter. This is definitely more worthy than some of those bouts. I would agree with that.
Just saying. But I also, I love Evinger. She's the Melissa Etheridge of the women's division. And then Lena, man, who's taking a harder beating to get where Lena Landsberg's at?
I'll just say both title contenders.
Yeah, are they both 145ers? Are we in the 145?
No, they both had fought at 145 or 135 or 25. But they both came in against champs. Cyborg and Lena against Shevchenko. Both. So, officially...
I think Tanya and Lena both came in against Cyborg.
I think you're right. So, still, title contenders, though, right? Compared to guys that weren't even close.
They legitimately are title contenders.
Yeah.
They both contended for the title.
So, facts are facts.
Legality. That's Trivial Pursuit shit.
So, Tanya Evinger, both of these ladies fought in Invicta twice, actually. First bout ended up being a disqualification or overturned due to an illegal strike for Landsberg, I believe. It ended up being a submission eventually because she landed a knee. In the rematch in Invicta, Tanya Evinger ended up submitting Lena Landsberg. And I feel like that's the reminiscent that's going on right now with this fight on why the odds are so skewed for Tanya Evinger being a big favorite. The 19-8 fighters coming off a 2-fight losing streak to Christina Cyborg. Then last, Aspen Ladd over 7 months ago. TKO ground and pound. Little early stoppage. And my girl Evinger came off the most brutal injury she's ever had.
Oh.
We've said it time and time again, like she said
This is shit.
She ain't the same. At 37 years old, it's not going to get any better. So,
and tell everybody that I know people that listen all the time, they know about it, but to say what a shit injury she had.
Right. She had a guy off of the street come in, just any Joe Schmo walk by the gym and say, hey, I want to train MMA or I want to train UFC. And her coach was like, oh, yeah, come here. Practice with her. Your pro fighter who makes you money.
Bad coaches. Bad.
And this guy was like, oh, I want to see something I've seen John Jones. Oblique kick. Ruined her knee. tore ligaments. She's talked about she didn't have good knees beforehand.
It's horrible.
So she had a big recovery. Thought she'd never be back. Is back, but that movement is limited. She is a bit of a bruiser on the ground. She has good submissions, almost a Cat Richardson style. But what does it for Tanya Evinger is her grindingness, her durability. She can get hit with the kitchen sink and keep moving forward. She's one of the few ladies that went into the third round with Christina Cyborg. Not too many women have. And that's definitely a testament. She did get finished, but hey, that Aspen Ladd one, people are also, that one was iffy. But here against Lena Landsberg, she's coming in with an 8-4 record. She hasn't been able to beat Evinger. She last lost to Kunitskaya 7 months ago, but prior to that, she ended up getting a win over Gina Mazzani, who I don't believe is in the UFC anymore, losing to Aspen Ladd as well, beating Lucy Pudilova, no longer in the UFC, and losing again to Styborg, as we said.
Mazzani was swinging her Pudilova all over the internet.
That's some low-level fighters in a division at 35 that's finally getting a little stacked, but this is not I don't see either of these ladies moving up in the rankings after this fight. They both have lost a lad in there, which is a contender, so I think the line's skewed here. And I don't think you can put that much confidence in Tanya Evinger being a minus 185 favorite against a plus 150 Landsberg. I do think Evinger should get the win, but I think that this is going to be a grinding fight and probably one of the harder fights, if not L's, we see from Tanya Evinger. And I think that not only does the travel potentially add up for her, but everything I've heard about that, even though she's saying it's good, I remember those first interviews and she was like, nah, it wasn't good. I didn't think I was going to be able to walk, let alone. But Pennington was in that boat. But where's Pennington been as well?
Haven't seen her again.
Because she had one of those leg injuries that's in this level to me, where she almost lost her leg. Evinger, maybe not that bad, but still.
And Lena's got some kicks. Ugh. I don't know. Lena was really low caliber here, and you just want to think that Tanya can come in with her experience and kind of
get her to the
able
ground,
to clean this up. She's a tough woman. She has something to prove. This seems like a fun trip for her as well. I don't know. I just have Evinger for grindability, and also Lena Landsberg has some nasty-ass scar tissue. She always ends up extra bloody in her fights. This is purely experience. I think this is a low-output fight. I do think we might see some okay transitions here, but more often than not, I think you're going to be aggravated by the end of this fight. You're going to be like, this is sloppy.
Yep.
This is, so Evinger decision. That's all I have to say.
I got Evinger decision as well, but I don't like it. I'm not going to be putting it in bets. I think, if anything, there's a shot on we got a live underdog here. And as I'm saying, I think the line's off. You can't I see it being in that almost coin flip-ish minus 125 for Evinger for reals and plus 105. So value on Landsberg here, but as far as DraftKings, 9,000.
How much did you 9,000?
For Tanya Evinger.
That ain't right.
Against 7,200
You're
for Landsberg.
right on that. I wanted to debate you on it and be like, no, I think, but no way.
Yeah, no way. No way. So you can't play Evinger here. Anything, maybe Landsberg if you're looking for spots, but as you're saying, I think this is super low output, not a lot of takedowns, transitions, so definitely probably a stay away all the way around. Moving on to the preliminary main event. This is going to be the last fight that we have, and we got another dreaded double debut. Unbelievable that Tanya Evinger and Lena Landsberg, former title contenders, aren't even in this spot. Even though
fair enough.
We're saying it's going to be sloppy and dirty, but hey, in this fight at 170 pounds, we have Sergey Kandosko coming in against Rustam Akman. These 70-pounders like to bang, but they're still young fighters. At 27 years old, Sergey's coming in with a 25-5-1 record. Last losing a year ago in a submission triangle choke. Prior to that, also having his submission be his weakest game. He's won some split decisions fought out of ABC. Last TKO, Rodriguez, who's a 10-2 fighter. Sergey is a fun young fighter who moves forward, likes to hold control of the ring, throws a good 3-4 punch combination, and actually puts a ton of pressure on guys. I really like what I saw from him. Other than that pressure can be his worst enemy. he moves so forward so often that people that are able to get him to the ground where he is a bit lacking in his submission defense or even just general wrestling on the ground, you can really see him to start get out controlled. And that's because he throws these 4-punch, 5-punch combinations, and all of a sudden they duck under him while he's still throwing the combo. If you're not able to, if he's able to keep you standing with a okay whizzer, he is able to overwhelm you with punches. He actually does have a 3-punch combination and likes to go for double underhooks, and he'll go for the trips on the outside.
Was this a fight that was just added?
I think it might have been.
I don't know.
I think it might have been. Either way, with Sergi, when he gets you to the ground, he uses these double underhooks, turns you, and on the ground when he's on top, he's good. He likes to throw a lot of elbows. He's really active. He keeps a lot of that pressure, but when he's off of his back at all, he's uncomfortable, and you can tell in that. So that allows people to just start out control him. Here against Rusman Akman, that 6-0 fighter, is fighting out of Sweden. He's a local boy. He's got TKOs over 18-8 fighters, 9-10 fighters. Who else is he fighting? 11-13, 3-6. Semi-padded record because they're all local, are LF something champions. Either way, I watched a few of his bouts and he was fighting dads in there for sure. Unarmed puncher. He loops with his shots. Very heavy right hand, but it comes from his hip and it can be stifled. His takedown defense is serviceable, but the takedowns I saw shot on Akman were trash, low reaching, not that good. So I do see that actually Sergi has a much better ground attack and avenue. He'll like to clinch you and get you there instead of taking these outside bad shots that I saw against Akman. Akman, though, likes to get you out of there early. He likes to blow his load. He gets in your face and tries to bruise you up. So I could see why they make this a preliminary fight because stylistically, these guys are going to move forward and they're going to see who's left standing. They both like to throw heavy punches, but the 3 to 4 punch combination Sergi against the 1 and 2 punch combination of Akman, I just see more avenues, but Akman can throw that one shot. Both of these guys keep their heads fairly straight up as well. And against their opponents, they didn't have to worry about that. But here in the UFC, against other guys, that's going to be big issues. These are both serviceable guys. I see the projected better guy overall being Sergi longer. I think he has more avenues to win, especially if he ends up on top. Didn't see much of Akman on the ground. So I'm going to go Sergi TKO round number 2, maybe into 3. I think that pace, even what I've seen, he's been into the 3rd round before, and he's a guy who he breaks your will before he finishes you with punches and then finishes you with punches. Who do you have in this fight and why?
Sergi seems like he's Akman seems like he's fought a lot lately, and his last fight was at 185. It was a super short notice fight, so to have to cut that extra weight, it just seems rough to go in. That's like a big reason.
May I throw my dirty, greasy theory out here?
Yeah.
He saw the 185-pound dad and said, that guy? I'll fat that guy, and I don't have to cut weight.
I'll do it right now.
Exactly. Because his opponents, look back at him, you're like, oh, they're guys that have trained.
He's local, too.
Exactly.
And he's hairy.
He is
the most hairy guy I've ever seen.
Thank you. I was about to say it. Like, I thought he had tramp stamps and tattoos. Nope, that's hair patches.
All hair.
All hair.
All hair.
Outside shoulders, he does have a tattoo, but it's thick hair.
Gross.
It seems itchy.
It seems like a lot. So I just am picking because I feel like, gosh, that seems painful a little bit. I'm going to pick Sergi. I'm nervous. I feel like Akman, even though he seems like a knockout artist by his record, I see his route to winning would be a submission. I'm going to go a 3rd round maybe if he picks him apart by 1,000 cuts, hopefully Sergi. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to go with the decision. I'm going to stay far away from this fight.
Interesting.
I don't know anything about these guys.
Sergi's going to end up being 8,800 on DraftKings, the favorite, against Akman 7,400. Yeah, I think that Sergi's more likely even at 8-8 for a debuter. I don't like to put that money, but out of the two, I see him being the more likely finisher. But Akman's got power.
Are both guys going to punch themselves out? Is this going to be boring if it doesn't finish?
I don't think so. I think Sergi's been... I think he's even when he's tired, I've seen his tired fights, he's still moving. Where other guys are like, they quit just because they're like, fuck, just get this guy off of me. So I think he could dig deeper from the fights I saw where, again, Ackman has been fighting Buns, and he's like, this is easy. Yeah, I can take 5 fights in a row because I'm knocking these guys out in the first round.
I don't even have to shave.
Yeah.
I can just come up with this kind of...
Exactly. So, might be a fun one. Betting-wise, definitely be careful with your money on that one. If you haven't liked and subscribed...
Does Giagos Hadzovic start out the main card? I thought it was Timur.
It is Timur Joe.
Huh, did we skip one?
We might have skipped one here.
Have. Oh, it was going so good.
It was. It was.
Yeah, so go
but
on with that.
But if you haven't, liked and subscribed at Zol Tonight, at Weakneck Baby, at Lesbo on the Beat on Twitter, at LatB MMA on Instagram, be sure to hit that bell, like and subscribe. You know we're doing that YouTube game up. The growing pains are real. We trying. So, you know how we like to do. We got to support our sponsors because they support us. And we're always looking for new sponsors. If you know someone out there you think it's the right fit, shout out, try it out, let us know. Throw it out there. And if you need any good soaps, and if you need any good scents, be sure to be on that Lather & Company game on Instagram, on Twitter. You know their Instagram game is hot. They got some hot photos with some of those new summertime soaps I was seeing. They look very mermaidy to me. I know that that's in right now.
Everything's mermaidy, and they also have some good facial detox bars, which are also good matte bars, which you've talked about.
Definitely.
Keep your pH right. They got some good smelling stuff. They have stuff for ladies, gents, and people that they are non-binary.
Jessica Andrade would approve of Lather & Company for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's not... What in the hell? Oh,
Interesting. Now it's okay. So be sure to hit that LatB15 code whenever to get that extra 15% off. And again, support the people that support us as you guys are.
Hey, we're getting you a deal. It's 15% off, and you can get that free shipping and handling for orders of $25 or more in the continental United States for now. So that would be that. And make sure you're liking and subscribing us and telling a friend because all this information is free. And I know you're sitting probably at 65%, which... If that's the stock market.
For this year on bets, yeah. Or as far as picks.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I feel like maybe even, some nights obviously up around the 80 and 90% mark. So this could be one of those nights, people. Make that money.
There's some underdogs tonight.
No pressure. Notice I put it on you.
There's some underdogs tonight, and definitely let's all make money together. Let's all definitely do that.
You can make that money, and you can get yourself some latherandcompany.com.
Definitely some detox soap if you're rolling around out there. On to the main card out of Stockholm, Sweden. We're going to end up starting this out with a debut fighter coming in against Daniel Tamor, also known as the Lesser Tamor for a reason. But the 145-pounders...
I call him Tay-less.
I like that. I definitely like that. It is Kid Dynamite, though. The 31-year-old, I think he's a banker, is one of these guys that we always like to talk shit on because he has a full-time job and kind of does this on the side. He is on a 3-fight losing streak, 6-3 fighter, all 3 of those losses in the UFC. He's been beat by Dan Henry, then Julio Arce and Chris Fishgold submission 3 months ago. That was definitely... better competition than we've seen. Now that you look at Arce and you look at Dan Henry even, those aren't low-level competition. We like to give the Lesser Tamor a little bit of heat here, but it's just because he doesn't have the potential of his brother. So there's got to be a worse one.
Met a wall of crazy competition. You're right.
It is better competition than we tend to really give him credit for in there. But he tends to be a striker just like his brother. Taking down the fence, not that good. It's really been the ground game that has been his worst attribute. People been able to get him down. Fishgold especially showed that Tamor's take down defense is really going to be an issue against any type of wrestler. And even his submission defense, we saw all of his fighters give him trouble whenever they got to the ground with him. But as far as kickboxing, Daniel Tamor, that's his sweet spot. That's where he's good. That's where he lives. Staying on the outside, having an okay jab, 3-punch combinations, throws a good calf and leg kick, has a bit of traps, not tons of power, but can outpoint and outstrike fighters that allow him to get there. And against the debuting Sun Bin Jo, Korean fighter, if I was telling you there's guys fighting taxi cab drivers, Bin Sun Jo is fighting their cousins. Like, they drove in together because he's fighting 0-2, 0-3, 5-5, not or like 3-8 type of fighters in there. If there's a padded record I've ever seen, this guy has got it. And the level of competition, it was just, yeah, they swung back, but really they were just outsized, not even techniqued, brutalized more than anything. Joe likes to keep in your face. He likes to throw actually a fun body shot. He has good knees in there, a good clinch, exits well. He'll throw the elbow off of the ring, or I saw him, I believe, in both more of a ring, but out of that clinch, Joe will throw an elbow or a knee on the way out, which we love that here. But as far as his cardio, not that good on the ground. He never really was tested because all of his opponents chose to stay standing. The few takedowns I did see, there was an American fighter in there. He did shoot some horrible shots, and Joe was easily able to fight those off. He has an okay wizard, but it's against other karate guys or taekwondo guys. So definitely this is going to be the biggest step up by far. The lesser Tamur is the biggest step up he's ever had. So whatever that means. But I don't see this going to the ground as far as Joe's technique. He's a guy who's going to try to beat you by landing 3-punch combinations and being good at it. But he's definitely a guy who looks really good on tape, but I think he's going to get a big... We know these Korean fighters have a cast iron jaw, and they will go out on their shield. So this can turn into a dirty split. Excuse me, if it ends up getting there, but I don't think it will. I think... I can't even bring myself to say it, but I got Timur decision. I'm all mixed up. He's an underdog. I got another one.
I feel like it's a sign. I'm wondering, I want to say stick with what I know. Go with Tamur decision. Maybe the cough is a sign that I should just switch to Joe right now. But I don't know anything about him, and he's not even in the top 5 in his country. Not that that's anything bad. I also tried to find a picture of him showing his eyes, and it was really hard to find. Every picture was like...
He's looking down?
Yeah, and even they had a hard time finding it when I'm looking at Typology.com, where we tend to do our picks. So, this is so scary for me to say. I have Tamur decision.
I totally agree with that. The actual underdog here is big underdog as far as DraftKings, 7,400 for Tamur against 8,800 against the debuter. This is a debuter that, sure, he could get the finish, but I think Tamur has proven on his feet that he can eat all of those punches and be serviceable there. And if we don't have to worry about going to the ground against submission, ground specialists, guys with good takedowns, yeah, I'm betting against Tamur every day. Doesn't matter.
And he's kind of gone against a good, decent guys.
Yeah.
No guys that you would say are a walkthrough at all. All guys that are like caliber. So even the losses, I think that's good training. Like nothing better than a live drill.
Definitely agree with that. So again, Joe's going to be minus 120 against the plus 140 underdog in Tamur. You got another underdog starting off the main event. You can parlay some of these together, do two. I mean, underdogs. There's money to be made on this card. I think on DraftKings for 7-4.
I can't. It just feels just wrong.
It does feel wrong.
Too heavy in the
but
Tamur.
this is a weird fight night. It's at 10 in the morning over here.
Yeah.
It's definitely one where we're seeing double debuts.
Do you think that lesser Tamur, Tayless, could be on your winning card?
At 7,400, I think he could, because I think he could
All right,
score
you heard it here
50 to 60 points. He's not going to get over 100. I don't hate
what you're saying. We agree.
Yeah.
But I just am nervous
All right, beating a dead horse there. So definitely be sure to stick around for other fun ones. At 155 pounds, we're profiling that division. Again, against Christo Giagos, against Hadzovic, or Damir Hadzovic. Hadzovic has come in and really been fun on striker, 13-4, coming back in a win against Machine Held, getting an L in there against Alan Patrick getting out wrestled. But really, the 32-year-old fighter has overperformed, I feel like. Tends to be the underdog. Likes to make most of his money striking. But Polo Reyes was able to finish as of late. But he really did that with his wrestling. Was able to get him down and didn't even want to stay striking with him. Really showed a ripple to his game. Where in other fights, that was something that was fairly hard for him. But Polo Reyes maybe doesn't have the best takedown defense as well, and we really haven't seen him proven on the ground. Cristo Giagos, definitely a submission guy. His second time around in the UFC, he got let go already, come back to lose to Charles Oliveira, and finally got a win in there against Miroto Hirota in a decision. The old Japanese fighter in there just couldn't take it anymore. Giagos, being the 29-year-old, also serviceable everywhere. On the ground, he tends to shine the most. Has some submissions in there. Striking-wise, has more of a Muay Thai game plan in there as well. Think Hadzovic has a slight edge as far as hands and knees and clinch. He's just a little crisper, a little more power. And on the ground, Giagos off of his back and on top is going to be the more dangerous fighter. What I saw, though, is Giagos' entries on his takedowns aren't bad, but they're not that strong. And what I saw lately of Hadzovic, it looks like he's really been tightening up that ground game in general. So if Hadzovic's on top, I feel like he can make this a dirty fight and really start to pull away from it much more. Where Giagos, even though he is a ground guy, he can get stifled at times. I feel like sometimes he just holds off inside position a little too much, or that gas tank starts to wear, and he does kind of a cara de zapato where it's like, oh dude, you're X-level black belt. But when you're tired, you just can't think in there. So I feel like out of the two, Giagos is more likely where Hadzovic can be that dog-tired underdog and still land a switch knee to get a finish in there. So it's a little steep, but I do think that Hadzovic is more likely to get the finish out of the two. I had it round number 2. I'm moving it to 3, giving Giagos a little bit of credit in there. More credit than should be. But at 9,100, the cited minus 220 favorite, I do think it's a little steep for Hadzovic. He has to get a finish to pay that off. And in the third round, it's iffy. I think I'm going to go probably like 30-40% on Hadzovic. Giagos probably 0. Who do you have in this fight and why? 7,100 for Giagos against the 9,100 Hadzovic.
If Alan Patrick kept Hadzovic, or if Hadzovic kept Alan Patrick at bay with submissions, he's going to have no problem with Giagos. I like Hadzovic, and I think he is going to pay himself off. I don't think it's going to be by a finish, and I don't think he needs one. He is a guy that really does cut you by 1,000 cuts. He lays so many punches and so many significant strikes. That's how he gets a majority of his points, that even in a normal loss, he's too heavy of a favorite here that he has to win to get his points. But I feel like even in a loss, the guy's going to get between 50 and 60 points. I like Hadzovic. I think he's a sneaky dark horse up the division. He makes for fun fights, and I'm really excited for this one. I'm going to have him on a couple of my cards. I like the half C mark for Hadzovic. I have Hadzovic's decision. So Giagos nowhere.
Definitely gonna be a fun one in there. On to 145 pounds.
What are their costs?
9,100 for Hadzovic against Giagos is 7,100.
Okay. Yeah, we have enough underdogs. Don't need a Giagos.
Definitely don't need a Giagos there. At 145 pounds, we have returning Makwar American coming in against Chris Fishgold. Fishgold coming in with an 18-2 record, losing his debut. He was a sacrifice to Calvin Kattar, short notice replacement. Came in and last beat Tamor, rear naked choke. He was a favorite. One of these English guys that really has a good wrestling game and submission game. Fishgold has a chain wrestler who likes to, especially against Tamura, saw an advantage and didn't allow him to get off any of that striking. So Fishgold can put a game plan together, looks good at 26 years old, takes a bit of damage though. Striking-wise, he's definitely a bit weaker, and at times, with some better wrestlers in there, he's not able to get it down as easily, and he wears it badly. He cuts, I want to say, a little bit easily, but other than that, he's somebody that I don't know if he's necessarily a dark horse right now, but he's someone to keep an eye on because he has that wrestling-centric type of style with a bit of power in his hands, but really sticks to the game plan. And he knows what he's good at, and he sticks to those attributes. So I like that when I see that in fighters. He's not mimicking that he's some Muay Thai guy out there. He gets it done. Makwan Amirkhan, 14-3. Mr. Finland has had a little bit of a break, losing to Arnold Allen, which doesn't look that bad, but as of 11 months ago, won to Jason Knight, giving Hick Diaz his his paperwork on out of here. Injuries have been an issue for this 30-year-old. He's actually taken a bit of the 11-month break he took off of his last win was because he felt that Jason Knight shouldn't have been at his level with striking, and Jason actually made it a much closer fight than it should have been. And Makwan, being a lifelong wrestler, been wrestling since 5 years old, he always fell back on that, but Jason Knight was able to change his point of view a little bit in that fight. So what Makwan did for the last 6 months is became an amateur boxer and ended up fighting 6 times. He lost 2 of those fights, won 4 of them, lost them only by decision, but they were against some veteran. I think he was throwing numbers like guys with over 60 fights in there. I don't know if they were winning or losing, but he was staying active in a combative sport, and he actually took a good amount of time off from his wrestling because he felt like a lot of his camps were wrestling centric, and he's like, I've been wrestling my whole life. I don't need to keep working on that.
Go into that.
Exactly. He'll fall back on that. So he's really been working on his hands in this position.
That's what I like to hear. I like when they well round themselves.
Definitely. So Makwan, Mr. Finland himself, has definitely started to do that, and I agree with that. I think that's exactly what he needs to do. So Fishgold usually comes in wanting to get to the ground, and Makwan feels better there. Though, if it gets to the ground, the submission, the guy who has a better submission game is Fishgold, by far. Makwan's one of these guys who uses his wrestling for position over submission. His submissions aren't that high profile, so I don't think he submits Fishgold. But if he can keep this striking and Fishgold can't get him down, and Makwan has gotten his hands better, there is openings on Fishgold's feet, and it needs to be a good anti-wrestler to keep this where he wants it. And I feel like Makwan Amirkhan can do that. Give me another dang underdog plus 120. Makwan Amirkhan. Who do you have in this fight? And why? I got a decision.
I actually agree with you, and I can't believe he's the underdog here. To me, the line is off. This is where I'd have to give my number 1 stamp of the line being off. I think it's an easy that you should go with the guy. You stick with what you know. He doesn't have a padded record at all. He's in grimy fights. We've seen him take some damage. He seems to have a decent ring IQ, and I like everything I've seen from Fishgold, but, I mean, he beat Daniel Taymor. So it's,
Take less.
Yeah, losing to Calvin Kattar isn't
You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to do that.
So it was really, and it was short notice. I just think this is a huge step up for them to be seen eye to eye on real camps.
I think what Kattar did, which Kattar's a wrestler who got good at boxing, same kind of prototype in Amirkhan in this, and I actually looked at the live lines right now. Officially on tap, this is an underdog, but he is a minus 105 against minus 115 for Fishgold. So
I think the lines will fully change. I think more MMA people, as they come in, hardcores, they will notice that this is a little off. I think your good money is Amirkhan here.
So you think he's going to be the favorite by the time they close?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So he won't be an underdog here officially by that time. But definitely interesting bout. We both see decision there.
Yeah.
So you're going to end up paying $8,800 for the slight favorite in Fishgold against $7,900 for Amirkhan.
But I'm going to be able to do whatever cards I want.
I agree. I'm going to be able to do a whole lot of fun cards throughout the entire night. Finally, moving out of those middling divisions, we're going to go up to the big boys at 205 pounds. We are going to profile the light heavyweight division in these last few fights with Jimmy Manawa against Alexander Rakic. Rakic coming in, being a dark horse here for Cheney. She's been getting me on that train for a while. She's like, this guy, you don't know this guy. This guy looks so good.
That's why I said
You're going to really like it.
Hey,
this fucking guy over here.
This fucking guy over here.
This motherfucking Rakic guy. He's pretty good.
Rakic.
So, he's coming in against Jimmy, the poster boy, Manawa, 17-5. A former title contender in there has come off of a 3-fight losing streak, losing all 3 in a row to Ozdemir, Blakovic, and Thiago Santos, which when you look at those, all of a sudden you're like, no bad losses. Like those are all beastly
the top
guys.
of the division.
The division, for sure. But the 39-year-old poster boy has had injuries, has definitely come back from a few losses, but we've said it time and time again. Big chinny. He stiffens up hard when he gets hit, but he has good boxing. Jimmy Manuwa, serviceable boxing, good takedown defense. Is actually underrated for his takedown defense. Yeah, he's starting to show some of those flaws now, but it's against Jan Blachowicz. It's against high-level competitors in there. And then when you get in a striking bout against Santos, we've seen it, even Blachowicz can't take that. So something that Rakic has to do here is not stay striking with him. Rakic came in and is 11-1. He's won all of his fights, last beating Devin Clark, where he was hurt for a second, finally landed a spinning back fist to get in there, but Devin Clark had me shitting my pants for a little bit there. Beat Justin Ledet as well in a sided decision. Also beaten the Gross Barros himself, using a lot of his wrestling, implementing a bit of his striking, but really Rakic likes to use that heavy double leg takedown to get on top and use that ground and pound. He's fairly active. When he gets on top of you, he'll lace those legs and throw punches to keep you down with position, but it's also with punches. The reason guys don't get up easily is because Rakic is always just peppering them and pestering them. A lot of guys at 205 don't do that, and Rakic does that well. That's why he's a good underdog horse, because when he's in that position, he's never worried about Jimmy Manuwa landing that right hand and putting him out, ever. Jimmy Manuwa's worried about fighting his legs off and eating punches. So for that, I feel like Rakic eventually, if he knows what's good for him, he does not keep this striking at all. He goes directly for that chain wrestling, gets this to the ground. Manuwa's going to be able to defend a few of these takedowns, but after probably the third defense, and this could all be in one round, I think Manuwa really starts to slow down, and it's a matter of time till he gets to the ground. If Rakic decides to keep this standing, he can be in trouble, but that chin of Manuwa, even a hurt Rakic or hurt anybody, can always put him out. I do think the line's off here. I like Rakic in this spot, but I do think that he's getting a little inflated. Minus 225 favorite against Poster Boy, and I have him here winning in round number 1 as well. I just am fading that chin.
He's getting a little inflated. Round 1 finish.
It's more me fading Manuwa than anything. I could go round number 2 as well. Manuwa's got a good takedown defense, but he just has too many check marks in the negative right now. Who do you have in this fight and why?
I like Rakic, and I'm fading Jimmy, so it's all for that. I'm also going to have a KO round 1. I think the points are going to pay off. He defends well. He has good ring IQ. He has killer cardio for the division, and the weird thing about the 205, it was a dying division that John Jones cleared out once already, and now there's this new upcoming breeds, the Rakics and the Johnny Walkers, and it's like all of a sudden an exciting division again. Give me Rakic. This just builds a steam. It's a perfect fight to set him up for a big name. Jimmy's been training with Alex Xander Gustafsson,
yes,
which makes me where I'm all Gus or no Gus. So Rakic KO round 1. I feel like if you've seen the movie Beetlejuice, they're like, Maitland, party of 2, take your handbook and go to the 6th door. That's what I feel like. Rakic KO round 1. Make him your linchpin. Put him on most of your cards.
Oh, linchpin type of talk. At 8,900, the plus or minus 210 favorite is coming in against Jimmy Manuwa, 7,300. Manuwa nowhere. Linchpin apparently for Rakic, probably in that 70% for me, 80% worth of DraftKings money in there, but definitely the higher ceiling. Do you think, though, that could be either one of those fighters? That's a finish type of a fight.
Yeah, that fight's not going 3 rounds.
Right? That's an inside the distance
prop. A little prop inside the distance. Both show.
Definitely. On to the co-main event.
Party up 1. Knockout.
Round 1.
Round 1.
Co-main event. We go at 205 pounds. We have former title contender Volkan Ozdemir coming in against Amir Latifi. 14-6. Latifi's coming off of a loss to Corey Anderson 4 months ago. Prior to that, winning a couple fights in there, beating OSP, losing to Ryan Bader in that knee finish, beating Tyson Pedro, who we have mixed feelings here on that beat. But we know what we get with Latifi. The gorgeous horseman himself is a fire hydrant, throws that huge overhand right, has a mean single leg, very powerful, but does tend to slow down pretty heavily in there. If he jumps on that guillotine, that trollish man will separate some vertebrae, though. He is just a tank, absolute tank, on that 5'8", 205 type of scale. But in this fight against Ozdemir, it's definitely a fight that he's going to be tested everywhere because Ozdemir has serviceable takedown defense. He can eat a hard shot. Volkan Ozdemir did not get an easy route. I know he has overperformed and had title shots and come off of a couple losses, 3 in a row here, but they're against the highest level competition, and he started out being Anthony Rumble Johnson's only training partner that was able to stick around. That's tough as shit.
Yeah.
Out of anybody else, Anthony Johnson, eventually, by the time, he'll even say, I wasn't beating Anthony Johnson, but he wasn't beating me either. When we got there, he was knocking me around. So Ozdemir's put in the time. He is lost again, 3 in a row, but it's against Anthony Smith in a submission. Polo Reyes in a controversial split decision. Polo Reyes was a 600 favorite, and by the skin of his teeth won that split decision. A lot of people thought he lost. Losing to Daniel Cormier. Lot of us definitely thought that. But Ozdemir really showing that on the ground is where he has his vulnerabilities. He can just be submitted, and even in that Anthony Smith fight, he was hurt before that submission came about. And Latifi can do that, but he has to get him to the ground first. And I feel like Ozdemir's takedown defense against single legs is actually pretty serviceable. It depends where it stays, because striking-wise, no timer. Cousin, no, is it no time now? It's no time now.
No time.
It's a better striker.
I don't know.
It used to be Cousin. It used to be Cousin. He's a better striker here. Throws a mean uppercut, but his gas tank as well has proven to be a little bit on the weak side. And even when he gets a little tired, he just really wears it negatively in there. But Latifi has one of these rules that we have against Tamur and a bunch of other guys, which I guess I'm breaking by following Tamur because he's a part-timer. Latifi was just put into office, I believe, a fight or two ago, where he's a representative out of wherever in Sweden or wherever but he's a part-time politician.
Yeah.
So he's also one of these part-timers as well. But the money's been coming in on Latifi. Opened up as a minus 170 favorite for Ozdemir. It's now minus 110 for Ozdemir, plus 105 for Latifi. So more money coming in on Latifi, but I see a decision. I think that Ozdemir can keep this where he wants to, which is striking-wise, and I think he peppers him a little bit more. The more dangerous finisher, I want to say, is Latifi, but I think this turns into a dirty split type of a fight. Give me Ozdemir, the slight favorite now. The money's been coming in on Latifi. See how this one ends up. I'm not too confident.
Does it sway you at all if Latifi's the homegrown guy?
That Sweden in Stockholm. That's a great point, and that's a reason money's probably been coming in too. If this turns into a dirty split, we usually favor the local guy.
And am I naive, or does Latifi have a similar game to like a Daniel Cormier? Is he just going to swing, or is he going to get inside and try to take you down?
He just swings.
Kind of has an ugly ground game.
He just swings, but he does try to get on top of you out of the two fighters.
Ugh, I just feel like Ozdemir has such a sketchy ground game.
Yep, it's true.
I do think he beat Dominic Reyes. He kind of made us realize, like, oh, we need to pump our brakes on Dominic Reyes. Anthony Smith, I think he has an underrated ground game, which I'll talk about later on. And then Daniel Cormier, the odds of the loss. Oh, Serkinov. Gosh, I could see... I'm going to go... I see it being close too, and everything in me wants me to lean toward Ozdemir, but I just can see Latifi kind of squeaking
being the local favorite. Out. I agree. I see a dirty-ass split, and this guy opened up as a 2-1 favorite, essentially, and has now been bet down because Sweden's going to Swede.
Oh, I'm going to go with Latifi submission.
Woo!
Round number 3.
Woo!
Round number 2, because Latifi's going to gas like
2?
a
He gasses
too.
as well. That's what I'm saying. That's why I see decision as well. I see these guys just being like, I'm tired. You two, let's shake hands 5 times.
I just feel like I could see like a Kimura. I could see neck crank, like leaning backward. Little Latifi's body all leaned backward.
We did, and we saw him put OSP down in Orlando.
I could see... Yeah, LaTV submission round 2. It feels weird. I don't know. I'm going to play both guys. I'm going to play both. How much are they?
They are 8,400 for the favorite, Ozdemir, against 7,800 for LaTV. I agree. I think you can split these guys up.
I don't know. I can't.
One or the other.
I can't be definitive here. It
Yeah,
just feels like
one.
I could go back and forth. I want to see weigh-ins. I want to see everything leading up to it. I want to see what direction Ozdemir's nose is facing. So, yeah, we'll see.
True that. To the main event we go. Finally, we got there at 205 pounds. A profiled fight. The local favorite, Alexander, former title contender, Gustafsson, coming in against Anthony Smith, also former title contender, coming off of his loss to Johnny Bones Jones, the fight card that was moved from one state to the other. Anthony Smith is taking a pretty short turnaround. 2 months ago, getting a unanimous decision victory. He got fairly beat up in there. A lot of people are criticizing him for turning around and moving and going all the way across the country, but he's just like, his point of view, Anthony Smith here with his 31 and 14 record. A spotty record in the UFC. 185er who's now moved up to 205 and done better, or the best he can. But that little run he had was against Rashad Evans, Shogun Hua, and Volkan Ozdemir in a comeback win where he was losing that fight until that submission finally came about. But before that, his other marquee win was Hector Lombard, 185er, who also has issues. So Anthony Smith likes to use his Muay Thai in there. Good clinch. He's got a weak ground game. I know he's heavy on top and he has good submissions and good triangles, but he can get taken down. Isn't he a black belt in jiu-jitsu? I don't know about that. I can't confirm that. I don't think he is, but he's good. He has a great rear naked choke and he's strong. He can really flatten guys out in there, but he doesn't have a good takedown. He doesn't have a good double leg. The way he was able to submit Ozdemir was he hurt him with strikes and then jumped around the back. So if he can't directly take you down, there needs to be another way. And striking-wise, I feel like he can get outboxed up here. Alexander Gustafsson, 18-5, is a guy who's coming off of a loss to John Bones Jones as well, TKO 4 months ago. Beating Jan Blachowicz, beating Glover Teixeira, only losing to JBJ or Daniel Cormier and who was it, Anthony Johnson in that uppercut. So only the top of the echelon, only the top. If Daniel Cormier and John Jones aren't in this division, I feel like it's Alexander Gustafsson who wins it. He lost early in his career against Phil Davis. Ended up going to California and training at Alliance for years until he learned everything he needed to and is now back in Sweden. But he's one of these guys who realized his wrestling wasn't to par, went to there and is actually a great wrestler. He has a mean double leg, single leg entry as well. Great takedown defense, good teep. One of the best jabs in the game, especially at 205. Gus's jab is on point. Follows it up with a straight right that hurts all sorts of people. He'll throw even a spinning heel kick in there, which hurts a lot to the body. And on the ground, he said it time and time again, and it's been proven. Even Daniel Cormier has said, like, it's hard to hold Gustafsson down. Daniel Cormier has said, hey, I'll fight anybody else but Alexander Gustafsson. His own words. He's just like, that was a tough fight. Way harder than I thought it was going to be. I don't feel like giving that guy a shot anymore. If it's John Bones Jones, sure, but I don't. Gus is just, he had no thought of it anymore.
It wasn't worth the paycheck.
Exactly. Gus is a tough fight. And again, if JBJ isn't there, I think Gus wins this. I don't see too many other people beating Gustafsson. Anthony Smith being one of those. I feel like the boxing is just so much better for Gus. Better angles. What I didn't like for Gus, because I do got to take something away, he's a bit of a turn and runner. And in that turning and running, in the Teixeira fight, Teixeira capitalized on that because he once noticed that turn and run and he cut off the cage well and threw a double hook, which Anthony Smith can throw well, double left hook, which landed and hurt Gustafsson. And if we see that, other people see that. So that's the critique on Gus is when he turns and runs that way, somebody who does get him there, he's got to be just really, really careful because he exits that hand straight down.
I was just going to say, he keeps his hands so low. Even coming forward where he does like feints and stuff, his hands are just so low. And with a guy with Anthony Smith's power, you can't keep your hands that low. The cardio here you give to Gus?
I give it to Gus by far. By far.
He should have it. I don't like the one fight. Like, that's all he's had in the last 2 years of time is the one time against John Jones. There's something about it that makes me feel like he's getting out of bed just for a paycheck, and they're like, hey, Gus, and then they're going to do this. I almost could say he could retire. He could retire after this because he's at his hometown. He's a huge name. He did not look good in there, and I know that was John Jones, you guys, but...
He fought 4 months ago. Yeah, it hasn't been that long.
I know he didn't look good in there.
Yeah.
I know it was just 4 months ago. That's exactly what I said.
But with that, John Jones the first time was coked out, partied out, and actually gave him the real John Jones that first fight.
I totally agree. But how long ago was that? 5 years ago?
Yeah, 5-6 years ago.
It can't even be counted.
Yeah.
What Anthony Smith's been doing, and I also think mentally, for some reason, he couldn't pull the trigger with John, that he's going to be able to with Gus. Anthony Smith is the what I know now. Gus has just been out of there too long, and I don't think he looked that great. It impressed me that Anthony Smith went all the whole distance, so it lets me think that Gus isn't going to hurt Anthony Smith if John Jones couldn't. I also think if John Jones isn't really getting him down anywhere, then neither is Alexander Gustafsson. So I kind of like Anthony Smith here. I think it's weird. The decision part is weird. I want to say Smith decision, but no way if it goes to decision, of course it's going to be Gus. So I got to go with knockout, that sounds crazy to me. That sounds crazy. Knockout to Gus. Like,
wow. What round?
Yeah. I'm going to go with round 4.
Wow. I actually have knockout Alexander Gustafsson, round number 4. So we're exactly split.
I feel like we split on a whole lot of fights.
We did split on a whole lot of fights. It's going to be a fun weekend, to say the least. Remember, this is going to be an early one, so be sure to stick around.
Was there anything that you felt like was the Bandits' bonus definitively right now that we agreed on?
It's either Tamur Americani.
I feel like there was an early one. Didn't we go with the opposite? Devin Clark's the heavy favorite, and we both have Racket or
no. Is it Stevie Ray? Stevie Ray.
Stevie Ray.
It's Stevie Ray. Good. I have Clark as well. Yeah, we got plenty of them. Either way, though, real quick on DraftKings, you're gonna end up paying $9,300 for the favorite Alexander Gustafsson against $6,900 for Anthony Smith. minus 265 for Gustafsson against plus 205, the underdog. Smith, how much do you think you're going to play that?
I'm going to play both, honestly.
I agree. 5-rounder?
Yeah. Not ever on the same card.
You're not going to stack this?
No, I don't. I'm not going to stack it, but I could see I could see myself playing both guys because I can afford who I want. I could see myself playing both.
I'm going to probably go 50 Gustafsson, 60% Gustafsson, 20% Smith to hedge my bet on that one because I do see finish potential there as well. Yeah. A lot of output for both guys.
I see 30 Gus, 40 Smith. Woo! Woo! So scary. So scary. Yeah, thank you guys for following along. Do we have anything else, Dad?
Nothing else.
Yeah. See you soon.
LatB.